Hi, I'm Meliora and I welcome you to my channel. This is my very first video. I'm very nervous. You know how hard it is to go from nothing to something. Every single like, every new subscription, I really appreciate. Thank you so much for your support. I hope you'll give me a chance. I really appreciate that. And after such a long break, I decided that there's no better way to start again as to record a good old-fashioned haul. Today I'm gonna show you several niche perfumes that I bought very recently. I'm a big fan, I'm like a kind of like one of those frenemies of the house Etat Libre d'Orange, because I can't stop trying their perfumes because they're always so interesting. But often they're interesting not in the best way for me, because they're like one of those houses that rides the shock wave. Like, if you wish, they're like they're Lady Gaga in the contemporary niche perfumes. Ironically, Lady Gaga perfumes themselves are actually really sweet and simple, but we'll talk about celebrity perfumery some other day. Again, if that is more interesting to you to hear about, I have quite a selection. I can tell you what's good, so leave a comment below if you're interested. I bought myself a few testers of Etat Libre d'Orange perfumes because I want to try them all, man. Like, they're just too interesting to pass, even if I don't like them later. So Archives 69. This is that infamous period in the house history when they really got into like genitalia, kind of like, I don't want to say toilet humor, but like, this kind of shock value extracted from pornographic aesthetic, if you wish. It's kind of like Sex Pistols era and yada yada. So this is one of those. Archives 69 is called so because it combines Eastern spices and actually pretty strong and sort of vocal spices with the notion of, as you understand, sex. Often perfumes from that era of their designs are intentionally disturbing. That's something, if you haven't tried any of those, just something you should know. They are intentionally a little bit odd. They are like, they take any idea and just drag it just a little bit out of the olfactory comfort zone. So what I hear in the opening is, I kid you not, this artificial, okay, like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I feel the smell of fruit-flavored condoms. Yep. So the peachiness, kind of the warm, sweetie peachiness here, is very, almost intentionally synthetic. It's one of, like, remember the times, the good old times when actually I don't know if you had it, I had it at home. We would buy this like artificial dry juice and you mix it with water, and I think we had like a brand called Zuko. I don't know if it existed everywhere. Like where I'm from, that was a big thing, those artificially flavored dry juices that you mix with water and drink. So this is what makes me think of like this old synthetic fragrant essences that you could put in a shampoo or air refreshener. Actually, these days air fresheners and shampoos smell sometimes on par with niche perfumes. I kid you not. The modern olfactory chemistry is leaps and bounds. Just the progress is so staggering that if you think back onto the 90s and 80s and what kind of smell passed for budget perfumes, it's shocking now. Anyway, the kind of this peachy or fruity smell somehow combines itself with almost a little bit of a musky, it's almost like slightly sweaty skin-like flavor, and oddly some notes combine themselves in a way that makes me think of latex. And this is why I'm saying like fruit flavored condoms, it is not as appalling as it may sound, but it's also not very appealing either. I'm not a big fan of synthetic DNA in any perfumery, though with some exceptions, and we can talk about it another day. This is not my kind of synthetic reconstructed fruity smell, to be honest. So I would give it 2 out of 5 for the opening. I understand though that very likely it is quite intentional. But what happens after is absolutely captivating. Once you survive the first 10, I would say 15 minutes of that peachy latex, what comes next is sharp, strong, I wouldn't say clean, but kind of like very well defined with good projection, spices with incense. It feels like you're in one of those Eastern temples, and there is a wind coming through as well, because these kind of spices and incense, they try to flow away. They are very projectile in their nature. There are like a lot of incense and spice scents that are nude, and we'll talk actually about it next. These spices and incense, you do feel like you're in a big building, and there is wind that brings those kind of notes, those flavors in your nose. Love it. It is very inspiring. It takes you on a journey. It's almost like going to one of those Eastern temples for a vacation, but just in your mind, through your nose. That clarity of association and that clarity of the heart and the base of this fragrance, that's what really captivates me and makes me want to try to make it work with what happens at the beginning. But to be completely honest, I have well over 200 bottles in my collection and surplus of decants and samples, so there's almost never I cannot almost ever make a case for like suffering through something so I can get to a better ending. There's so many perfumes that I love from the beginning to an end that I'm not quite sure if that will really stay in my collection much longer. But the heart and the base of their Archive 69 is truly a captivating journey. So judge for yourself if you want to give it a go or not. I'm very likely to put up the bottle for pouring the decants on my eBay page. So if interested, I'll leave a link below. If by the time you get there it's still not there, just shoot me a message and like I'll make a listing for you if you want to try like a little bit of it. I think this is something definitely you have to try first, because of what you heard before, like you want to make sure that you can live with that opening so you can get to that ending. Alright, the next perfume from État Libre d'Orange, also I got really lucky, got a tester for quite reasonable price. Okay. This is like another trend. Okay, it's a rant for another day. Those really long, almost intentionally convoluted French names in perfumes. It's almost they are made to be unpronounceable. Dieu et des Arguns, Fils de Dieu. That's what pretending to speak French sounds like. So I'm just gonna give it a nickname, Fils de Dieu. And we're gonna call it a day. By the way, I'll leave the names of all the perfumes below. If for any reason you didn't see the name or you didn't understand how I pronounced it, the names will be written down below. This one, absolutely blind purchase. Looked at the pyramid on Fragrantica. It's like 1,000 exotic notes that I have no idea what they smell like. Shiso, mimosa flowers, and this and that. Like there's like 50 of them. I was like, okay, that tells me nothing. Then I read the comments, and I actually, if you do speak two languages, I highly recommend you read different versions of Fragrantica comments on each language that you can read and understand. So I read it in Russian and English, and it's actually, you get quite different takes on the same perfume. So I found it really valuable. What I feel about this overly convoluted composition. In fact, it is a very well blended, not sugary sweet. It's just like very warm but not sweet, well blended spices. To me, Fils de Dieu falls into the family of soft, spicy, intellectual nudes. This is my everything. I've been thinking for the last couple of years, when I really got into the perfumes, I've been trying to figure out what is my natural point of gravitas. Like, where do I really lean to when everything else, look, when I'm not experimenting, when I'm not trying to impress anyone, when I'm not studying any perfume, where is the comfort zone? And this is it. Soft floral spices, soft gourmands, anything that has this kind of like within a hug quality of existence around me. This is the area where I just revel in that comfort zone. It's almost like floating on ether. I absolutely love nude perfumes as long as they do have character. And that's the caveat, that's the catch. It is close to impossible to find nude perfumes that last and they have a character. So every time when I score one, when there is something interesting about it and when I can make it last longer than, I don't know, 20 minutes, I just declare huge victory, like put a golden pole. Like it's really rare. It's hard to find. So this doesn't last very long. That's a definite minus. I can't say that I can feel it past 30 minutes. Maybe other people can, but since it already sits close to the skin, it's very unlikely. But what it allows me to do, I have a lot of atomizers. I just pour a little bit of whatever perfume I'm really into at this time and then just carry it, like put it in all my purses and just carry it with me and refresh it. I personally really like to tightly control what perfume does on me and around me, and for that I really like these kind of formulas. You can kind of up the volume up, you just add more sprays, or you refresh it more often. I actually do prefer to refresh it more often rather than overspray it once, because that kind of like blocks your receptors a little bit. I don't know if you notice that. I definitely do notice that. I do prefer to kind of maintain the same volume rather than shower in a perfume and then like walk around like this the first hour in hopes that 3 hours later it will deliver. Again, didn't intend to go on a rant. Coming back to the Fils de Dieu. Great, soft, spicy nude. Highly recommend if you can find it for a good price. Next nude that what turned out to be a nude is a new perfume, kind of a new house for me. And this is Carner Barcelona, I think they are truly Spanish, so we should respect the phonetics. So Carner Barcelona is a kind of contemporary luxe / niche, I would say, house, because everything that they do is very much within, I would say, like the tolerant, universally pleasant realm. They usually don't really take a lot of, I can't say that they take a lot of risks like Etat Libre d'Orange does, but at the same time they add just enough of interest into their compositions which separates them like a mile away from incomprehensible plethora, like an army of liquid sugar that is became our luxe perfume experience in mainstream stores like Nordstrom, I don't know, Bloomingdale, Sephora, etc., etc. You know what I'm talking about. Poison Girl, La Vie Belle, basically everything that smells like a sweet, sugary, kind of Britney Spears, Midnight Fantasy, like $10 perfume. Nothing against it, I just don't like that everything smells the same, to be honest. So that's what really creates I think a really great market fit for contemporary but simple niche houses. Again, their perfumes are so edible in a way, they're so non-controversial that it's hard to call them niche. But at the same time, they're way more interesting than what you can find on like normal perfume store shelves. So back to the perfume. Here I have a Scentbird sample that I ordered. It's called Sweet William. All right. Carnation, soft spices, kind of this like slightly more fresh, I would say, than what I told you about Fil de Dieu. A little bit more flowery, not sweet, but warm due to presence of very, very well milled, soft spices. Something like you feel, it's almost hard for me to tell. Is it a little bit of cardamom? Is it a little bit of carnation? Is it a little bit of pink pepper? Is it like, what is it? It's just like such a good even blend that all I feel is this kind of like spicy warmth with addition of softly refreshing florals. Sweet William, I think, is dedicated to the royal family. Correct me if I'm wrong. So a definite office favorite, I would say, for me. I must say, they really fall close to each other. Let me try. Fils de Dieu, Sweet William, not the same, but they could be brothers. They really fall into this family of intellectual nudes. Love it. As I told you, like I can have like 100,000 versions of the same perfume in this family and I'll still be happy. I'll still find a reason to wear them all. So Sweet William, great find. I'm very happy that I have a decant. Will I buy it? I don't know, right? Like, this is like 100 mils of something very similar. I might, we'll see. I'll wear, and when it ends, I actually do plan to record empty bottles and talk to you about like the final opinion, what wore well, what didn't, whether the feelings changed, whether I got tired of something, or vice versa, fell in love with something. We'll see about that. I'm happy that I got it from Scentbird. Highly recommend. Non-offensive, intellectual, sophisticated nude. Sweet William from Carnet Barcelona. Highly recommend for you to try. Whether it warrants a full price tag, which is it, I think, well over 150 if I'm not mistaken. Not convinced. Doesn't live long, very quiet, and a little bit of generic to other niche perfumes of the same nature. However, if you're departing from Victoria's Secret, Lancôme, Dior, and other kind of staples, that's definitely worth at least giving a try to a decant. Another one that I got from Scentbird, and by the way, they also send you this kind of travel case, in case, I don't know if you need it, I don't, but it's sweet, it's pretty good quality. Another niche perfume house that is kind of like now made it to a lot of shelves, at least I think they're sold in the luxury department stores like Nordstrom or Neiman Marcus, I think. This is Acqua di Parma. So Acqua di Parma, and this, if I understand correctly, by looking at their marketing, it's the concept of luxuriously easy to wear Italian colognes. So Acqua di Parma has many of them, and I tried a few, and this so far is my favorite. This is Chinotto di Liguria. Chinotto di Liguria, okay, let's try to find where to spray it. Okay, I'll try it in the box. I wore it already a couple of days, and to me it is this it's hard to explain. Chinotto di Liguria is actually a pretty recent release, 2018, which is cool, should be probably really easy to find. Top notes are mandarin, orange, and Chinotto. This is like the central note of it. Chinotto leaves. I don't know. I don't live in Italy. I don't know what Chinotto is. It looks like it's some kind of tree with thick green leaves. Middle notes are jasmine, geranium, cardamom, and rosemary. Base notes are patchouli and musk. It does smell green, but not in a way that we usually talk about green notes. It's not a freshly cut grass. It's not bergamot or citrus in its kind of usual bright, punchy form. It's rather, again, it's much denser than the previous kind of like spicy nudes that I talked about. This one sits close to skin, but it's denser. So as soon as you kind of arrive there, you get into this much denser, I wouldn't say fog, but this souffle-like presence of pretty thick. It's kind of opaque in its quality, in this green, a little bit of oily quality. It's like, it makes me think of, of tropical leaves, the like magnolia or maybe Chinotto to that matter. I'm not sure if I've ever seen it in real life. It's like this glossy, thick green tree leaves. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. That's what it makes me think. It's green, but it's a little bit oily and it's dense. It's very, it has this kind of like caramel quality, not in the note of caramel, but in the thickness of it, of how it enters my nose. I think musk gives it a little bit of more wearability. It makes it kind of melt with your skin better than without it. But otherwise, to me, this is a smell of confidence. This is a smell of this kind of quiet, put together, simple, but with a heavy golden bracelet, kind of like this, kind of like, it's very Italian. I know, maybe I'm just kind of like a slave of the marketing of the company itself. But it makes me think of simple but very classy, in that sense, like American version of Italian Fendi. Like, it's probably for America, it's for United States, it's Michael Kors. For Italy, it is more like Fendi. Crisp, really well made, white shirt, thick golden bracelet, but simple. Sharp, well put haircut, simple, but a little bit contrasting to the eyes makeup, with a lot of mascara. But everything else is really golden and neutral. This is what makes me think of. Chinotto di Liguria has this kind of luxury, but simple design, luxury designer handbag kind of quality to me. It really makes me feel kind of like a very successful working luxe. I don't know, like, it doesn't, it's not the luxe that's bohemian or resort like. There's no flirtatiousness in it. It's just very confident. It's quiet, but at the same time it has presence. It states what it is. I told you it's very hard to explain. This is the one where I can't grab into a single note, right? Like, and just make the whole narrative around it, like rose, peony, or this or that. If I knew what Chinotto really is like, maybe that would help. But for me, it's like going to a Fendi store and getting like dressed in total look and applying to like an executive job somewhere in Manhattan. I don't know. That's what it makes me think of. Love it. Absolutely love it. Very different quality, but again, sits close to the skin, doesn't offend anyone, very work appropriate, professional, and it adds kind of the element of kind of like being taken care of, It's kind of like very put together. Very, very well blended perfume. Love it. Okay, we're done with Chinotto di Liguria by Acqua di Parma. One more nude, as it turns out, because it was a blind purchase, that I want to show you is my first ever perfume from Rancé. This is a historic French house. Again, many of you probably know it better than me. For me, it's very new in my life. I was lucky enough to find it with a reasonable price, so I just jumped on it. I jumped on the opportunity to get more familiar with this historic perfume design house. So Rancé Hortense. I actually don't know how would you pronounce. Hortense is a female name, but depending of what your kind of native language is, pronunciation may vary. Hortense, Hortensie, Hortensia. There are probably a million ways you can pronounce this name. So this is Eau de Parfum, and it oddly, I bought them together actually with Fils de Dieu, and they do seem similar to me. This is also very French in this quality. Again, I might be falling prey to marketing, but this makes me think of perfumes like Annick Goutal and other kind of French school of perfumery, which makes me think of kind of like this like French country house. You know, this epitome of shabby chic done in the best way possible. A few vintage pieces, some of these kind of like your grandma pieces, you know, throws, patchwork, maybe some lace laying around, kind of like old furniture, a little bit shabby, but still you can see that it was really well made. Some cheaper things scattered, but practical things scattered around. You know, this kind of like eclectic, but very vintage in its feel, smell. It's a nude. It sits close to the skin. I would say it lives on my skin longer than Fils de Dieu, but they're very similar in their sort of technical qualities to me. In terms of the olfactory journey itself, it's sweeter. To me, Hortense has something of like fruity would not be the right word, but it seems like it's vanilla with some fruity twist to it. Because this doesn't seem like flowery sweetness to me. It seems like this is more of a fruit kind of edible sweetness, but the one that doesn't go gourmand either. So this is very different from sweet, spicy gourmands. This is actually a warm but light sweetness that I think is supported by the vanilla with very, very finely milled spices. There is probably a little bit of cardamom, a little bit of pink pepper, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it's so well blended together that you can't even pick one note against from the other. By the way, this is not really that popular these days. Actually, now it's really in vogue to make perfumes that are like either really simple when you can hear three notes that are basically make the perfume what it is, but at the same time, the monolithic perfumes are coming back into fashion. They were really fashionable in the 90s, like in the beginning of 2000s, if you remember Salvador Dali, Anglomania by Vivienne Westwood, like many of them. A lot of them had this like definite presence. It was like a single accord, and everything the perfume did, you smelled it at the beginning and you would smell it exactly the same way all the way until it dries down. It will just like decrease the volume. So this, in a way, is neither. There are many notes in here. They are very finely milled together into something that just gives you an aura, rather than a perfume that transforms into something different, or the perfume where you pick one note, then you pick another note. This is the old school. This is what I think of as old school nudes. Yes, the old school is, we mainly think of aldehydes and like this strong, very hard to relate to if you're younger, kind of these oily, strong formulas, but that also had a place in the real life. I distinctly remember that I smelled something like that when I was a kid from other women. So it makes me think of not as much of the old perfumes, but as much of the old summer houses. Not that I had a Riviera summer house, no, but this is what I relate to when I think of French country, of shabby chic, of this kind of like new interpretation of vintage. So this is a new, more contemporary, softer, millennial in its softness and nudeness interpretation of more vintagey, fruity, spicy perfumes. This is why I love it so much, because it's not like you have to study it like an old textbook, like sometimes I feel when I go to a vintage perfume store or happen to smell something that is like 30 years old. It is something that feels both contemporary but with nostalgia for the romantic past. So Hortense from Rancé to me is incredibly kind of lyrically nostalgic, soft, slightly fruity, spicy nude. Alright, we're gonna stop here for now. I'm melting. I'm absolutely melting. It's so hot in Palo Alto. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. You survived. I hope you enjoyed my slightly ranty and kind of very very sentimental approach to talking about perfumes. I live for perfumes. I absolutely love olfactory discoveries, and I hope you do too. So if you like it, subscribe. If you have any questions, if anything kind of sparked your attention, or you would like me to cover a slightly different family of the perfumes, I have a lot. I have a lot of new perfumes I want to talk about. I want to show you what I got. I'm super open. This is just the beginning. I hope you will be there with me. Let's do it together. I really, really want us to have a conversation that I can convert into the new content that you'll enjoy, that will kind of keep us going together through this journey. Hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a like. Please subscribe, leave a comment. It's really, really, you'll make my day. Thank you so much for your time. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.